Today I'm going to scrutinize a singular picture of a supposed LEGO Star Wars minifigure way more closely than any picture like this should be scrutinized. But for good reason, because I have to know, is this picture of Phase 2 Cody real or fake? I mean, obviously it's a real picture, we're both looking at it, but is the minifigure in question an actual LEGO minifigure coming out at some point this year, or is this potentially the best fake I've ever seen? So if you enjoy my friends and my detective work in this video, please hit the thumbs up button and let me know in the comments section below after you've seen all the images and all the evidence I have to put out there, whether you think this is an actual LEGO Phase 2 Cody that will be coming out at some point this year, or if you think this is a very, very good fake, or maybe you think it's a terrible fake, maybe I'm an idiot that's been completely bamboozled, but I genuinely believe there's a good case to be made that this is a genuine, legitimate factory leak minifigure, which we get all the time from the LEGO factory in Mexico. And there's also a very genuine, legitimate case to be made that this is a big nothing burger. So first, we're going to go through all the reasons that I think it's fake, and then we're going to go through all the reasons that I think it's real. And there are many reasons for each category. And I would also like to personally thank Michael MGF and Rod the Collector for helping me kind of flesh this video out. Through conversations with them, I've come up with a lot of bullet points that we wouldn't have had here otherwise. So big thanks to them, and I'll link them in the description below. You can follow them on Instagram and YouTube. So the first reason I think it's fake, it is a suspiciously blurry image. It feels intentionally blurry, but that doesn't mean something's fake. People take blurry images all the time. This could have been something that the person was taking very quickly as to hide it from whomever might have been nearby, or, you know, like there's a lot of reasons that a picture can be blurry like this, on top of the fact that when you get up so close with a phone's camera, I'll take a picture right here now to give you an example. I've got my Clone Customs Phase 2 Cody, and if you take a picture too close with your phone, it's out of focus because it's too close to the camera, and so then it is a bit of a blurry image. The next reason I have written here is that it's missing two key details, and these key details are the gray of the torso. That should definitely be there. It's really hard to tell. It does kind of faintly look like it might be a light gray there in the torso, but honestly to me it just looks like white on white with some weird shadows. And yeah, the gray is something that, again, all custom minifigures have on it, but this potentially real, legitimate, official LEGO figure does not have on it. And then again, it, in my opinion, is an error that only LEGO would make. And then he's also completely missing his rank insignia on like the top right of his torso. And those are two pretty big things that you would, I suppose, expect, as we'll see when I get to reasons that it's real, but if for the case of it being fake, you would expect LEGO to get those details on the torso of the figure. And as far as I can tell, the abdomen area is not done in light gray. Obviously, this is not a great picture to be able to 100% tell, but it certainly is missing the rank insignia that should be on his chest there. It's just completely missing. So that is a big thing there that I think should be on the character if LEGO were to make him, and it's just not here. So that's definitely a point towards it being fake in my opinion. Now, the next potential reason it's fake is the antenna on the visor. And the antenna is something that I didn't even notice. I had been looking at this picture for an hour, and I call up Ross, aka Michael MGF, and he points out to me that there is an antenna on the left side, from our perspective, of Cody's helmet, and I hadn't even noticed it. It's in black, which lines up kind of with the color that it would be. It makes it look like it's a dual molded antenna, all-in-one antenna visor piece, and that is something that LEGO hasn't really done for LEGO Star Wars. They historically have just used this kind of gray, one use for all clones color piece, and that has worked fine for years and years and years, but we're kind of past that point now for LEGO Star Wars. We should be getting more detailed things, and this is something that I would expect from LEGO. However, you know, Ross is a big LEGO fan like I am, and he is pretty convinced that something like that would be a little bit too weak, something that could possibly snap off too easily, and I would be inclined to agree with him, although I did a little bit of research, and they do have things like this scuba diver mask that has kind of the snorkel part that comes out of the side, and that's somewhat similar to what we see here, as well as the ladybug antennas, I would say, are kind of similar in the kind of size that the antenna would be and the strength that you would need to have something like that, not just completely snap off in the mode of play that kids would do. Obviously, it'd be fine as a collector's item no matter what, but, you know, LEGO has a little bit more durability in mind with that, so it looks like it would be durable enough to me. I mean, just from afar with a really blurry image, if this were real, I would guess that would do it. It looks thick enough. And so it's kind of a 50-50 there in my opinion as to whether or not the antenna makes a lot of sense. The next reason I think this might be a fake image is on the left side of the helmet, it looks like there's a bit of a gap in the visor. If you look really closely, it just, I can't tell if it's the shadow, I can't tell if it's a gap, but to me it looks like it might be a gap, and in the interest of nitpicking the crap out of this image, let's call it a gap, and that is potentially a reason why this is not real. It could potentially be one of those gray Lego visors repainted orange. However, with the way this figure is being held in the hand, it wouldn't make any sense for the gap to be on the left, because the helmet would be laying closer to that side of the visor, and therefore there wouldn't be a gap there because it would be pushed up against his hand. I don't know if it's really enough to like really, you know, pin down that it's fake, but there's definitely something weird going on there. To me, the second biggest indication of this being a fake is that it is missing the straps. And what you'll notice on pretty much every Lego Clone Trooper is that they have straps at the very top of their torso. Now, this isn't something that's completely universal, like on the 2013 Lego Star Wars Episode 3 style Clone Trooper. They didn't have the straps at the top, but on the Clone Wars version of Cody, they had the straps. On the new 501st Troopers, they have the straps. On the new Clone Commander, they have the straps at the top. It's just a very common thing they put on Lego Clone Troopers, and if you look at Episode 3 Commander Cody, he clearly has those strap things, and that's something that's missing here, but it's something that Lego typically puts on the top of the Clone Troopers. And this isn't like Phase 2 Captain Rex or anything where there's actually something else taking up that space. It's just completely blank at the top. So to me, that might be a pretty big indicator towards this being fake, is just missing the straps at the top, which is something that Lego commonly places on their figures. Now, my smoking gun as to why I think it might be fake here is the look of the legs and the torso supposed prints. And if we look really closely at the coloring of these supposed prints, it to me looks like these are decals or paper that are pressed onto the plastic. It just looks off to me. If we look at the legs specifically, you have the waist piece that cuts down between the legs, and you'll notice that it's just plain white. And then you would expect the lighting to be consistent throughout the legs, as the shadow is a pretty even gradient across the torso and everything. But when you look to the left and right of that middle part of the legs there, you'll notice that where it should be white, it looks like a really, really dirty white color to me. It just doesn't look like the same normal Lego plastic white, especially when you have it compared to something that is definitely normal Lego plastic white in the middle there, and directly next to it, it is not that. So to me, that looks like it's decal. That looks fake to me. That is if it didn't have that, I'd be pretty gung-ho on thinking this is a real figure. But that to me is the biggest indicator that it's not real. The colors just look so weird there that it just goes from perfect white to like this dirty grayish white, where it should just be perfect white as well between the prints on both the left and the right leg, but it appears that it's not. There's nothing I can really explain that away with. There's no real way around that. So to me, that screams fake. And then another thing that looks kind of fake to me is the torso. The torso looks papery. If you look just above the torso where it's definitely white Lego plastic, it looks like white Lego plastic. And then if you look just below that black line at the top of the torso print, supposed print, it looks more yellowish to me. And it's just a very instant change in color where you don't normally see that on Lego minifigures going between the print areas. It just stays white where it's white, and it doesn't look any different between the two. So those things to me, the shading and the colors that we're seeing between where the prints are and then the regular white of Lego plastic, they look off and odd to me, and to me that's the biggest thing pointing towards it being fake. And finally, for the it's potentially fake category, we have the Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga game image of Phase 2 Commander Cody. And while the video game characters absolutely do not always match up with the real in-universe Lego Star Wars characters, you can see that there are some major differences with this figure here. In the game, it actually has the rank insignia, and he's also got the straps at the top of his torso. So those are two things that I pointed out as being pretty major things missing on the figure. But as I'm going to talk about more in depth in a second, to me, these are things that only the LEGO Star Wars design team would screw up with the Phase 2 Cody. To me, it would make no sense not to have the same details that the Skywalker Saga figure has, which actually looks really good, but to go and actively make the figure worse and less accurate. That seems to be the LEGO Star Wars way as of late. Now, as we get into reasons this might potentially be a real figure, we must look at the timing of production. The summer wave is still quite a ways away. It doesn't come out until August 1st. It's currently the beginning of February. LEGO typically doesn't produce their stuff that far out. Typically. That's not to say it couldn't possibly be, but it's also worth saying that I was told by a trusted source, and it's the only thing I have been told about the summer wave at this point, that it doesn't need Phase 2 Cody. Which means it's really good. At least that's what I infer. If it doesn't need Phase 2 Cody, that means that it's got a bunch of other good stuff, and get the hype train going, fellas. Let's go. That's what we have for now. But what that also says to me is Phase 2 Cody, to this person's knowledge, who seems to know a lot, isn't in the summer wave. And therefore, the only logical thing that this Phase 2 Cody could be, and I mean, there's potentially other things, of course, but let's just say the timing works right now. This figure is being produced as a May 4th minifigure. Could LEGO potentially finally be making May 4th great again? Sure, it's in the link in the description below to my Teespring, by the way. Maybe? Look, I'm really optimistic about this stuff until every time it comes and passes and it's not as good as it should have been. But there's a non-zero chance that this is a May 4th minifigure for this year. From what I've seen on LEGO Leaks, the set number for this year for the May 4th set isn't in the same range of set numbers as they have been in the past few years, where they've been the vignette style sets, and that the set number is actually part of a different line of set numbers that conforms to polybags. And that's not to say that it means it's a minifigure, because LEGO has done polybag May 4th sets before with BB-8 and R2-D2, but there have also been polybag sets that are minifigures. And so this could maybe be that. Maybe. There's an outside chance that it is that. Another reason it might be real is that Rod, Ross, and I could not find a single match for this minifigure as far as, you know, the design of the figure matching with an existing custom minifigure design. Not the torso, not the legs, not the helmet. All of these are completely unique as far as we could tell. Maybe the masses will come up with something rather quickly and we'll all be proven completely wrong here. But I did some pretty extensive Google searching with Google Images and couldn't find anything that looked... I mean, I found some things that looked kind of close, but I mean, it's definitely different type of stuff. And so I could not find a single match of any of, like, even the individual parts matching to what we had here in this blurry image. So that definitely lends credibility to this image being real. I would be surprised if someone went out of their way. I guess it's not impossible, of course, but someone went out of their way, created their completely own custom Commander Cody Phase 2 just for this ruse. And then another reason I think it might be real is it just looks like a LEGO minifigure. It's got the white hip piece, which they've been using on all their clone troopers as of late without any printing on it, which, you know, you can debate whether or not you like, but that's the way LEGO has been going. And it's also got the exact normal LEGO footprinting for clone troopers now. The leg print looks pretty on par for what you would expect, assuming this is a print. We'll get to that. The torso looks like a LEGO Star Wars minifigure torso, and that's where there are some discrepancies to be had, though. It doesn't quite match up with the same design for the general torso as the Phase 2 501st Trooper. There's definitely a difference around the belt area, a major difference at that, but the belt area and the abdomen seems to much more closely match up with that we see on clone commanders of past, like the ARC Trooper here. That belt area looks almost exactly the same as the ARC Trooper. It's kind of another Frankenstein mixture of clone trooper types. Instead of just going and making Phase 2 Cody based off Episode 3, it, to me, almost seems like LEGO, once again, just mixed up a bunch of different clone trooper armor designs for this, which is very much not ideal. I think the vast majority of people just want this purely based off Episode 3 as a Phase 2 Cody. It looks to me like a mixture. I'm not an expert on the clone armor stuff, but like, to me, it seems a little bit more mixture-y than anything. But another big reason I think this could be real is the lack of the rank insignia on his chest. And to me, this just screams classic LEGO Star Wars error. What other, you know, you look at all of the custom minifigures and all of them have it down. They have this perfect little detail for the rank insignia. I would hope they wouldn't. I don't want it to be wrong. I want it to look great. That's the only reason I even bring it up. But of all the people or entities that would mess this up, Lego would absolutely go and mess this up and completely just omit a pretty big part of the torso print. So yeah, potentially not there, and you know, it definitely could mean it's fake, but I also more so think it lends more credibility to it being real. At the end of the day, to me, it's a very big toss-up. If this is a real Lego Phase 2 Cody, I'm gonna be honest, it's pretty underwhelming. We're missing a pretty big detail with the rank insignia, and I also really feel like he could have used some orange arms or some printed arms. Like, it just doesn't feel like it's as cool as I thought it would look. Maybe some of you guys disagree, you're more than welcome to. I'm sure there'll be people commenting below. Just be happy you got it. And if this is real, yeah, I'm pretty pumped that it exists, but I'm pretty not pumped at the execution of some of the parts of it. So it's kind of a give and take there. It's tough when you have high expectations and then they just don't meet them. Although I feel like having some pretty simple details aren't particularly high expectations. I don't think anyone's asking for a Calamity Customs level 360-degree printed, you know, crazy looking, super detailed Phase 2 Cody. I already have one of those, but I want a genuinely good looking Phase 2 Cody, and I don't quite think this is it. But nonetheless, this could potentially be the May 4th figure. That's what my best guess, if it's real, as to what it would be. So at this point, the only way we're finding out is through time. Time will tell here. We'll know within a few months whether or not this is real or fake. Definitely let me know your theories in the comments below. I'm curious what you guys have to say, because this picture has a lot for being just such a small and basic picture. There's definitely a lot to read into if you want to read into it, or you could just be like, yeah, it's a blurry picture of a custom clone. You got bamboozled, you fool. So there's definitely two ways to look at it. But if you enjoyed this wild ride of a video, leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe so you can find out in the future if this is a real Lego Phase 2 Cody or not. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.